needs to do anything positive.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm John Shull. I am co-founder of e-NABLE, and I've been chairing these chapter roundtables for the last few go-rounds. In recent weeks, we've been focusing on the situation in Eastern Europe, the war in Ukraine and the refugee crisis, and have been trying to see whether there's a role for e-NABLE. Ben, do you know whether Nathan Makabuag was included in this invite or in your update?
He was including in the emails. I haven't heard from him though, so I can send another message to him directly to follow up.
Probably a good idea. But Julie and Andre, I can tell you that we discussed the situation. We agreed that there are going to be lots of people with damaged limbs and that 3D printing could be helpful. We reviewed the emerging technology of 3D printed tourniquets and said that's not for us. But we do think that splints and prosthetics could be useful, probably in the bordering regions where the refugees and the aid is likely to be provided under relatively stable circumstances. But to pursue that, we're going to need partners on the ground who are ready and willing and able to work with us. And we haven't found those partners yet. I actually coincidentally had a meeting just yesterday with a young man who is an advisor to the UN Security Council, and he says that they are all about Ukraine these days. And so I've asked him if he has any aid organizations to connect us with. But that's sort of where we stand right now. We are interested. We would be pleased to help if we can be genuinely helpful. And that's not clear yet. At the same time, we have these monthly chapter leader meetings every month. And they've proven to be a good opportunity for us to learn about other chapters. And since I haven't met Julie or Andre, I would love to get an introduction, find out your background. Andre, where are you from?
So I am originally from Ukraine. I immigrated to the United States a few years ago, and I learned about e-NABLE community actually from the different side. I have friends who are interested in idea to 3D printing prosthetics, and we started learning what other community in this area. So, and then we found about e-NABLE, and yeah, it seems basically e-NABLE is doing exactly what we started thinking about to do. And instead of building new community, it seems it's much better to just join to e-NABLE.
Well, I think that's right. We do have people all over the world who have experience building 3D printed prosthetics, and they're interested in doing it. But we have learned that, you know, the fabrication of prosthetics is something we can do, but the fitting and the delivery and the follow-up on prosthetics is something that needs to be done in partnership with people who are on the ground, who are in touch with the recipients. And that's particularly important if you're talking about traumatic injuries, people who've just lost limbs recently. Whereas a lot of e-NABLE's success has been with people who either were born missing fingers or hands or who lost them quite some time ago. So we want to be very cautious in dealing with recent injuries. But if you are in touch with groups that are dealing with injured individuals or soldiers, I'd be interested in knowing more. And I'd also be interested in knowing where you're located and what your own background is.
So I am in Washington State, United States. I use 3D printing as just a small hobby, printing kids' toys. And This will be actually my first attempt to 3D print something useful. And okay, I am in Washington State, United States. All my friends in Ukraine, and first problem which we trying to solve, actually get them equipment, get supplies, and actually find more people who interested to do it, and start get actually education on this topic, because all my friends they all with some different kind of engineering or craftsmanship background, and I believe they easily can start 3D printing. So there are people who has 3D printers. I have few people who actually are refugees who left 3D printers at home. So all this just started.
It's okay.
Yes, I have barely few people who interested in this idea, and today it's on the level. Yeah, it might be a good idea for later, because most of my people interested more on a little bit different area, which is needed right now, and all medical related topics will be concerned later. So
yeah.
My idea is that probably right now the best start education. So when printing prosthetics will be more priority, there already will be people with some skills and tools.
Andrei, I think that's great, but you should be aware that as a Ukrainian speaker with an interest and understanding of this, and as someone with connections in Ukraine, you might be extremely valuable in trying to reach out to people who are dealing with the injured and finding out what they think about their needs and what kind of care facilities and situations are available. For us, I think production and getting them printed is not a challenge. Finding a means of getting 3D printed devices to the people in Ukraine or Poland or wherever they are, and into the hands of medical professionals who can work with them, is probably something that would benefit very much from someone with your connections and linguistic skills.
Yes, I start working with at least one doctor, medical professional I know. That's my father, but he has no information about this. They don't deal with this topic at all right now. But I think I completely agree that it's different direction. First, people who can understand how quality of life could be improved.
Yes.
And then the second topic, how to actually print and get this. Even if all supply lines have difficulties, it's still possible to ship stuff to many Ukrainian cities. Yeah.
All right. Well, so I don't know if we have your email, but if you put it in chat, I would like to be able to stay in touch.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested in hearing more. And as I say, for us, I think the most important thing would be to find people working on aid on site who can help us understand the local circumstances and the local opportunities. We can help probably with shipping. We can certainly help with printing and assembly. But we need help when it comes to making sure that the devices get to the right people in the right way. And it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you.
I was just going to mention that the being able to coordinate people through your network that are interested in supporting, that can be something that, you know, even if there's not a sort of a clear idea of how we could be or what we would be making, that can be really useful. Just getting, you know, doctors together, getting people that have some background in physical therapy, you know, getting a sense of who is on the ground that needs help. There's been a couple examples in other countries of local efforts that do a lot of sort of interviews and measurements and getting a sense of things. And once that, as that's building, there's also international partners that can be preparing to help.
Very good, thank you. And that was Ben Rubin, who could introduce himself.
So I'm Ben. I've been involved with e-NABLE the last couple of years. I'm working on media coordination projects. A lot of the times, different chapters and individuals have different skill sets and opportunities, and crossing the teams together can be really helpful. Connecting one team with one set of skills to another team that has a way to apply those skills can be really helpful. So I've been working on that the last couple of years.
Thank you. Julie, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we've met before.
No, we haven't.
Okay,
Thank you for having me here. I'm Julie from e-NABLE Greece. So I live in Greece. We have created e-NABLE Greece through e-NABLE France. I have met Thierry and Gislan, and then they donate to me a printer, and everything started from there. Yes, it was great, and that happened like 4 years ago. I want to apologize for not being around on all these roundtables you have done, but we are just 3 people, and I was away because I was pregnant, so there were 2 people, no time for all these roundtables. We are not very, I feel that we are not very experienced in the prosthetics. We have just delivered 3 devices because there's not a lot of need here in Greece. I don't know how to put it, but currently we have 3 more recipients that we are working on. And in terms of, for the Ukrainian situation, our steps are this. First of all, we have a Ukrainian partner living in Spain that sees the one that is making the links with Ukrainian and the organizations there. The first step we have already done is giving money. This was the first thing because they needed a lot of supplies, and someone should have the money to collect all of these things and send them just in one shipment. So that was the first step. After seeing these roundtables, I connected with her. We had a communication. So I had an email today says that she's collaborating with 2 organizations that they're in touch with hospitals, and they need splints and tourniquets. You just said that tourniquets is not something we can provide. I don't understand what tourniquets are. I have done the research, but in my English is not that good.
I can explain that.
Okay, what is it?
Just so you know, when you have a severe injury, you're in danger of bleeding out. The blood can flow. And so a tourniquet basically is like tightening a belt above the injury to prevent the blood from going out.
It's a first aid equipment.
Like this.
Okay, now I get it.
Right.
And you wrap it around and you,
Yes.
okay, yeah, I understand. Okay, thank you very much.
And tight.
Okay.
So
And then
the challenge with tourniquets, though, is that they're not used well. They can make the injury worse. And so
we avoid that. Yes, I understand.
So there are open source devices being developed, and we're waiting to see how that goes. And you do know what splints are?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Then
we
please
have created
continue.
one. Okay, so she's in touch with a third foundation called the Olena Pinchak. Sorry, Andre, maybe you can correct me there. and they are supporting hospitals and rehabilitation institutes. So maybe they're in need with prosthetic devices. So she asked if we want just the emails or we can have an online meeting. I would prefer a meeting with them. And when I have some better news and what they need, I will come back to you.
That's
it.
excellent, Julie. Thank you very much. That's really terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you have Andre's email now. If you look in the chat, it could be that depending on who you are talking to, you might want to get him involved to help with the language.
Yes.
That's terrific. That's really good news, Julie, because that is, as I've said, right now, the sticking point is whether we can make the right connections to the right people.
Yes.
So Thierry said he didn't have any progress to report, but he did indirectly. That's good news.
Yeah, he did.
And
Dan?
just so I can to collect this in notes really quick. So Julie, you're partnering with, was it a team in Spain? Do you have the name of that team?
Open Europe. They are called the Open Europe. We are partners in several Erasmus projects. And she's Ukrainian, Olena is Ukrainian, and she's very into helping. And this is how we make the connection. Do you need a last name, if I can find it? Yes, it's Kozikova, I think, if I can spell it right.
Yeah, if you could put it in the chat, that'd be great.
Yes,
Okay, this Open Europe.
And you mentioned that they have partners that are hospitals that are looking for splints.
Yes.
Great.
Julie, two things. One
Yes.
is Thierry asks if you can, you say you made a splint. Can you share the file that you used?
Yes, let me see if I have a photo to share it with you. So if I really understand what the splint is and I can show it to you, just give me a minute. The file, I wasn't the maker, Thanasis was the maker, so maybe it will take me just a few minutes to find it. Yes, I'm hearing.
I was going to mention that in our last call, we had a discussion about splints, and Masvi, who's the chapter leader in Lithuania, shared a really wonderful design. I'm going to share a link with you guys. He made a post in the hub, and it includes his download files.
That's great, Ben. Julie, the other thing that might be useful would be for you to share the email that you just received with me or with Thierry, just so that we can add value or track your progress.
I will just ask, because it's like, I don't know if I can say it's a personal email, but I will ask the team if it's something we can do, and I will share it with you. But I can for sure write in the chat the organization for the rehabilitation, so perfect. You can check if you have any. It's both, Olena, don't get confused.
And Open Europe, you said, is in Spain.
Yes,
Olena,
Spain.
I'm going to say this wrong, but Korjietkova is the contact that's working with Open Europe.
Yes, yes.
Got it.
And
that's great.
This is the foundation. Okay.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay, that's a step forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so Dan, say hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, perfect. I'm glad we got to the splint part. I'm Dan Robinson. I'm the chapter leader of e-NABLE Upper Valley. I work in the simulation center at Dartmouth-Hitchcock Medical Center here in New Hampshire. And you see my 3D printer behind me. It's printing a set of bones today.
All right.
But we've been involved in e-NABLE for, I think, 4 years now, I believe. We've printed 5 of the Phoenix 2 hands for recipients, which is kind of cool. I'm pretty much a one-man show here for the time being. But I have kind of taken on the splint thing. And I believe these are Mazzy's file, printed from his file.
Nice.
And I reversed it so that I can print both a left and a right. So as soon as we have a place for these to go, I'm trying to do 25 lefts, 25 rights. And I also did the finger splint, which is really easy to print. And it's
Nice.
just, warm and bend over a finger. So as I have time, these are really easy, quick print. So
That's great, Dan.
yeah, and I mean, these print when I don't have anything else to print. So when my printer is sitting here at night, I just set something going and go home.
Have you tried thermoforming and putting them on?
I have not. I had been messaging back and forth with Mazzy because he did his with a glove, and I thought maybe that would be too bulky. So perhaps gauze would be a better fit, not quite as bulky, but still offer some protection. And that little slot in 3 places is the same width as the Velcro strips that come with the kit for the Phoenix 2. So
Nice.
it works out real well.
Oh, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. And Dan, remind me, what do you do at in New Hampshire?
I work in the medical simulation department. We have 13 medical mannequins. I'm the technician that maintains them. I also work in the with the sections audiovisual. I manage the makerspace. I work with silicones and gels to make ultrasoundable training devices. Yeah, all the fun stuff. Yeah.
So is there a medical school there that you're a part of?
Geisel School of Medicine is attached to the hospital. And there's a couple of nursing colleges that use Dartmouth as their training hospital.
Got it. Got it. Well, that's great. And I'm glad that you have found the files that they do print. I think it'll be great to get some feedback on the actual fitting process. In fact, if there's a hospital, I'm sure you've got plenty to do, but it would be interesting to see if you have any takers at the Geisel hospital.
Yeah.
Who could give you some feedback on them or give you some tips on how to use them effectively.
My boss is actually did sports medicine before he started working in the hospital here. And he said, this is a great print. It offers a lot of support for the palm, wrist. So yeah, it's a great quick splint.
So that's pretty interesting. Now, I don't know about the availability of splints in the States, whether this is whether there's a need for 3D printed splints here. Obviously, there might well be in regions that are not on the commercial value chain, but that would be worth knowing about.
He wants to speak with me on the side once I get done with the e-NABLE project, because he also works with a clinic here in New Hampshire, and he likes the design. He said it's a very good design. So
Terrific.
He wants to talk about how much they would cost to print and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Please keep us posted on that.
Yeah, will do. Yeah, I think we're on to something. I think it's great that they're flat, they're easy to ship. And I think the thermal forming process would be very easy as well.
Fantastic. All right. Those are good updates from everybody. I see that we've been joined by Franz, who I don't know. Maybe he will introduce himself.
Franz, you're on mute.
He's on mute and he's invisible. Maybe
Nope.
he's a phantom. Oh,
Hello,
here we
guys.
go.
Hello,
Franz.
this is Franz from Sweden.
Nice to see you. I think I
Yeah.
recognize your face. We've met before, yes?
Yeah, maybe we talked on the forum sometime. I haven't been very active at the latest, but I just wanted to check in and see what you are up to.
That's great. Tell me again where you are and what you do.
So I'm a design engineer and I work in Gothenburg in Sweden. So
And-
we're manufacturing home automation products. So that's
Interesting.
what I do for a living. And then I've been involved in a few projects on the e-NABLE community.
Nice that you could
Yeah.
join us. Are you connected with a chapter in Sweden?
No, I'm not actually. I've like 1 year ago, I searched. I couldn't find anything that seemed very active. So
I think that's right. I don't think I'm aware of an e-NABLE chapter in Sweden, but it's
No.
great to have you here. What kind of home automation devices do you work on?
So it's our brand is mainly focused on business to business. So we are selling like built-in Bluetooth systems.
I see.
So
I was-
you know the Philips the Philips
Yes.
version or the IKEA that we have as competitors here in Sweden. They're good and easy to install, but the problem is that if you switch them off on your wall, you cannot really switch them on on your phone. So that's the big downside. And our product solves that, but because it's hidden beneath the switch on the wall, basically.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah.
I was doing some research on home automation pill dispensers recently, and
Okay, yeah.
for medications, I couldn't find a good device that
Okay.
that you could really control remotely. They're mostly
okay, yeah.
for packaging. Seems like
Okay,
an
interesting.
obvious opportunity. You should tell your boss, let him know I
Yeah.
said so.
Yeah, definitely. I actually had a look at the like automated cat or dog feeding dispensers. And I would like
That's right.
I thought of buying one of them for one of our production lines for feeding like springs and screws to our operators. But well, we will see.
Nice idea. Nice idea.
But we're selling mostly light in the lightning area for now, at least.
Very good.
Oh.
Well, so we have met everybody and we've talked about current events. Julie, I did want to find out a little bit more about e-NABLE Greece and your 3 new recipients. That's actually a lot to be working on at once for a small chapter. How did they come here?
Sorry, I have just uploaded in the chat the 3 pictures for the splint. I don't think it's actually a splint. Now I've seen it. I don't know how to call it. And I talked to my partner and says that the file is on Thingiverse. So we took the file from there and we used thermoforming for the kid. Actually, he's the son of one of our partner. So he had a correct splint, and then because he didn't want him to be injured through playing, he created this thing to keep the hand steady. So if you see the pictures, you will receive something that is actually getting like here, like I don't know how to call it.
A
Just
brace.
look at the pictures. Yes, and you'll get the picture. Yes. So yes, about the 3 recipients, it's we have 2 of them away from our location. We have one in an island, Luckily, we have already trained people there because we're doing a lot of training, and we're trying to create makers all around Greece. So we had there a couple of new makers, and they are about to deliver the device to the recipient.
That's great.
The other one is again far from us, and we were trying to connect him with the University of Physical Therapy, but they didn't really came through. So we are trying again. Maybe I will be the one here to make the device, but I have recently lost the recipient. I don't know where he is. I'm trying to get the measurements, but he's not answering my emails. And the third one just came up here. I think he's from a refugee campus, and we have found him through another NGO. I'm not the one dealing with this, but we are in the steps to sign the papers. So we can have the paperwork first, and then we go to have the hand. I have emailed Thierry for one of the cases. Again, we are in general a little, how can I say it? Not very confident about what we are doing because we had so few recipients. So we are not very confident, and we are always asking, is this correct? Should we do this? Should we do that? Yes.
That's a healthy attitude, Julie.
I hope so. But it's not very productive. We are not very fast because we all have very always asking, should we do this, should we do that? Okay. Recently we have some new printers printing flash forts that they're closed, so we have much better prints because we had a lot of problems with the printing. And I hope now I have found you guys that I can ask all the questions I want every time.
That would be great. That would be great. That is what we're here for. I wanted to say that we're increasingly conscious of the fact that follow-up and relationship with the patient is the hardest and most important thing, and that just takes time. It does take time. So you should expect it to be a multi-week, multi-month process, and it won't end when you deliver the device. And your volunteers, especially the ones who are located with the recipient, they should really understand that, and you should reinforce that idea.
Well, that is actually our goal. We want to follow up. But with the previous two devices, the one we have just lost him because he left the country and we couldn't find him because we were going to give him to, I think, e-NABLE from Belgium. I think he was transferred there, but we lost track. We lost the number. And the other one was a minor. He was like 14 years old, and from a refugee camp. And we've tried to help him because he didn't really embrace the device. He was very shy. And we offered him to go to his classroom and make a presentation about what is e-NABLE, what is this hand. And so the kids can see with another point of view all of these things, and the teachers, because it's very new here in Greece. But we couldn't get through. So we decided not to bother him anymore.
I understand. You're doing all the right things with the right attitude. What is your background, Julie?
Well, I'm a teacher. I teach electronics, and I have a master's in the embedded software. So yes.
And at what level do you teach?
It's in high school for you. It's
Nice.
ages between 14 and 18 years. And the other two guys are teachers too. One of them is in the Polytechnica here in Athens, and the other is Thanasis is with me in the high school, and they are both mechanical engineers.
Very good.
Yes, and now we are dealing a lot with the training. We are doing a lot of webinars about 3D printing training, 3D modeling training. We're trying to make makers, and we are trying to create assistive devices, but devices, educational devices for people with visual impairments. This is what
that's an area that I've been interested in, and I think that's a very natural way of expanding what the e-NABLE community does. There are, I think, more people with visual impairments than people who need prosthetics.
Yes.
And yet 3D printing for signage and for maps and for other learning activities, like, for example, graphs, tactile graphs for people who can't simply look at the diagram in the textbook, are all really interesting possibilities. I would encourage you, Julie, to post what you're working on into the hub. It's all very interesting.
I have to be honest, it's kind of complicated for me. The hub it turned out to have a very long learning curve for me. And I didn't have the time because of the baby and everything, but I will now publish, Julie, publish. Okay.
Well, listen, we all do what we can when we can. My point is not to pressure you, but to tell you that I think you're working on good things, and I think other people in the community would be pleased to hear about it.
Okay, I will try to be more there for you. Yeah, because I need you to be there for me. Yes.
I understand, and we'll try to be here for you too. Do we have any other topics of conversation for today?
I was interested in circling back around, now that we've done all the introductions, circling back around to Andrei. Andrei, you mentioned that your father is a doctor. Is he in Ukraine right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
He is a physician, or it's probably more correct to say that it's do everything because it's small town. Younger doctors, everyone left for better life. So he's trying to do in many different areas of health related topics, but his main area is general physician.
And where is he located, if you don't mind sharing?
So it's south of Ukraine. If speaking precisely, let's say it's almost 2 hours from the front line. He usually don't speak too much about their current ongoing activities at all.
Yeah, and is the conflict active there?
So let's say they used to sleep through the day because of many abrupt so they're okay there. So because from me, my most worries was how economy will impact them, and food supplies, medical supply, everything is there, and the closest it was like 1 hour driving from them where some actions happened months ago, but right now situation is improving, and they're trying to start rebuilding economy, because many of the so food supply is okay, medical supply is, I don't know. People again, another moment. There's a small town. They can accommodate. They start accommodating a lot of refugees internally displaced. So they're busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I imagine the supporting incoming families is definitely going to be something that is going to shift everybody's duties, including your father's.
Yes, his main area is children physician, and a lot of, and again, it's a rural area, and it was originally difficult because the main problem was actually to get people to care about their health, not when it's already have many new problems surfaced, and now it's I believe it's much more people with different range of problems. But
Yeah.
he usually don't speak about what kind of patients they start having recent months.
We're all watching with concern, and if you can help us figure out how to be helpful, we will be grateful.
I believe skills, knowledge, support is something which, because many people from, especially from my friends who stay there, they started learning a lot of new skills, especially in area of supply logistic.
I'll bet. I'll bet.
So.
Well, I'm curious in terms of next steps. I know the last meeting we met, we were interested in trying to circle around back to some contacts within Ukraine, some contacts connected to the supply chain to understand how we could be useful. Refining the focus from tourniquets to splints was an important step. There was some designs that were shared, like MASVs. So it sounds like, here we are a month later. Some of the things have already been put to practice. Dan's printing MASV's design, and it sounds like they're in contact. Sounds like Andrei has some local contacts, and he's going to continue exploring networking within Ukraine. What are next steps for us?
Just a minute, Zoom. What's up?
Oh, this TV reverted back.
There we go. I think that Julie's contacts and possibly Andrei's contacts are going to be the critical next step. If we can make connection to the recipients, then things can begin flowing through the pipeline. If the pipeline remains closed at the far end, nothing is going to flow. But we're closer. I think that Julie and Andrei may be able to help us there. So I've given my email. The other email addresses are probably in the calendar invite. And as information becomes available, I hope everyone will share it. We'll meet again in a month, but if there's a reason to meet sooner, I think we'd all be quite happy to get together.
Well, from my point, when I have something worth to share regarding the help the hospitals needs from us, I will email you directly, and everyone that wants me to email him directly, please give me the email in the chat. So we can take it from there, because if, for example, we have 10 devices that we need to share and send, we can't do this unless we have your help and guidance.
Great. Well, that's great.
Okay, good.
Okay. I think we're good. I'm ready. I'm willing to end a few minutes early, but I think we've made some progress since last time, and it's certainly a pleasure to meet Julie and to see Franz again, and Dan, and to meet Andrei. Andrei, give our regards to your father. We really are trying to keep an eye on these things, and would like to be helpful.
I've added a link to the notes in the chat.
Cool.
I basically just tried to write down the attendees for today and some of these next steps. I didn't do such a great job of collecting all the details. There was some really great stuff that Dan mentioned and also that Franz mentioned that I didn't catch. If you guys could follow up with a little bit of a summary, I'd be happy to include that in the chat, because it does seem like those could be really useful connections to have moving forward.
Cool. Thanks, Ben.
Okay, goodbye, everybody. Thank you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
all. Goodbye.
Nice
Enjoy your day.
nice to meet you.
Right.
Yes, and
Give me
thank you
Andre.
so much for finding us, Andre. I saw that you're on the hub. I look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.